The title of today's case spotlight is You're the New Principal, Considering First Steps Toward Improvement at Sparrow Middle School. Developed by Dr. Craig Peck, Associate Professor of Educational Leadership at University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and Dr. Brian Clarita, Clinical Assistant Professor at UNC Greensboro. Thank you, Dr. Peck and Dr. Clarita, for joining us on the JCEL Spotlight. And want to get right to it here. So if you can first begin by telling us a little bit about why you decided to write this particular case.
Basically around 2009, so pretty good amount of time ago, I was teaching a class on the principalship. It's actually called the school principalship. And I wanted students to have an extended scenario toward the end of the course that could help them realize the scope of their positions, just how much they had to cover. So I sketched out a 2-page scenario about a fictional, what I called Sparrow Middle School. Over time, Brian and I eventually developed that 2-page scenario into the case that now appears in JCEL.
And I joined the faculty at UNCG in 2011 after having been a principal of a Title I school for 6 years in a local area. And I started contributing new elements to the scenario as Craig and I used it in our classes. Some of the elements that I added were based on, of course, all of my experiences as a principal of a Title I school, such as facility problems and staffing issues.
So I'd say in a lot of ways that this was a course that was really, this was a case that was really designed to immerse students in the experience of being a principal by two folks that had been principals and had listened and learned on the job.
So would you say this case is geared more towards first-year principals or longer-term principals? Who would this case be more for?
I would say a combination of the two, because when you look at it, we still train people to be principals. Best practices are just best practices. So sometimes, even if you're a veteran person, I know I did, you may need that refresher. So actually it can serve for both.
Yeah, and I'd say the same thing. I think it's useful for both folks who are thinking about being a principal, because typically the way it works is you're an assistant principal first, then you become a principal. So people who are thinking and training to be principals in the future, but also people who are moving into the job now. But I think also people who've been on the job. One of the activities that we put into the scenarios, or one of the activities, I think it's activity 3, actually asks the reader, the student, to give the case to their mentor principal, have the mentor principal read it, and then have a discussion with them so that they can both kind of learn together. Because what we've noticed using this case is that people see it very differently. They prioritize things differently, and that's what we think is sort of the richness of the case, is to induce discussion. So I'd agree with Brian. I don't think it's particularly set up just for someone who is going to be a beginning principal. It could be across the board.
Are there activities you want to highlight that may be of a particular significance when others are considering utilizing this particular case?
So I think one of the things I'll compliment JCL with is that I thought the review process was really well done. And one of the anonymous reviewers made a great suggestion that advised us to have the students focus on a couple of issues in the scenario rather than considering the entire case. Because when we originally submitted it, it just had the students considering the entire case. I think going forward using the case, instructors and students can benefit from using both activity 1, where do I start, where they have to consider the whole case. But then after during the revise and resubmit process, we added activity 2, how will I address specific issues? So that narrows it much more so that you can have a more focused discussion, the instructor and the class, about here are particular issues that we need to discuss. So I think with activity 1, you get issue prioritization. You get a blanket set of issues, and you have to kind of narrow down to what you think is most important. The second one, the prioritization has been done for you by your boss, basically, the assistant superintendent, and now you have to actually decide how you're going to work on that.
Also, in a course in a principal training program, it could be utilized, the case could be utilized toward the end of class to help students understand and apply the knowledge that they have learned. So it would be a great way of allowing them to, I would consider it more a hands-on approach. So actually utilizing this information in that way to make it more meaningful what they've actually learned in the classroom.
So as others consider this particular case and begin to utilize it or implement it in their own classrooms and training programs, what for you are some of the key elements within the case?
Okay, first of all, we built in so many particular elements that show the reality of being a principal of a Title I school. There are just so many issues confronting you. For instance, budget and budget cuts have a real effect on what you can and can't do as a principal. So when you look at all of those things, there are elements of what, principals are going to face when they're appointed to a Title I school. So we felt like, this was definitely a great, again, opportunity for them to learn and see firsthand and have that application piece as well.
Yeah, I think something that's notable about the case that I like is that we use second-person narrative voice. So we really tried to engage the readers, students, into putting themselves into the shoes of the principal. That always struck me as a way to make the student feel like he or she was actually part of the story. And that's something we have heard consistently from students who have read the case. They say it felt personal to me.
Excellent. Thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add relevant to this particular case?
One of the things we both looked at was we feel like the case provides a good focus on issues related to diversity. Anyone who has led a Title I school knows the issues about things such as race, class, and gender definitely matter a lot because you're going to have to look at those things when you're looking at how do you best serve your school and your students. The case provides different chances for students to think deeply about these issues and how they might impact their leadership, and just consider some things maybe that they can do differently to make sure that, number one, their students are getting what they need in order to be successful, and number two, that they're providing the resources and supporting their teachers and their staff, and number three, that there's that whole community involvement piece and parents, that they all are, it's a team and it's a partnership engagement in order to make the school successful.
And I'm not sure, not going to blow our own horn, but we did try and actually connect the case to prevailing existing literature in educational leadership. And I'll mention some names. I don't mean to leave anybody out, just in case anyone's listening, but we did try and look across the board in terms of here are people who are really concerned with this is what it takes to improve a low-performing school. So you'll see researchers like Daniel Duke, Mark Gooden, Mohammed Khalifa, Rick Mintroff, Amy Twarowski, and many others who have researched and described principals' roles in school improvement. So I think, again, one thing I like about JCEL is in a very compact lit review section, you can actually really hit some of the highlights. So if students become interested in this case and how you can approach leadership in ways that improve low-performing schools, I think we give you some good indications of authors that you could follow up with in terms of working in diverse spaces that are in need of academic strengthening. So I guess, that's what I would say is a nice virtue of the case.